It was one of those December mornings in Boston, the kind where the world feels wrapped in a soft, white silence. Snowflakes, big and lazy, drifted down, blanketing the cobblestone streets near Quincy Market. Linda Parker, 58 years old, stood at her apartment window, watching the snow fall and seriously debating whether to cancel her blind date. Her sister Susan had set it all up. "He's a widowed architect," Susan had chirped over the phone. "Kind, gentle, you'll like him." Linda had managed a polite smile, but a weary thought echoed in her mind. Asterisk blind dates are for the young. For people who still believe in new beginnings, asterisk in the end, it was more out of courtesy than hope that she decided to go. She slipped into a favorite gray blazer, wrapped a vibrant crimson scarf around her neck, and braced herself as she stepped out into the biting cold. The café was a small, cozy haven tucked between old brick buildings. The air inside was thick with the scent of cinnamon, roasted coffee beans, and something else. Something that felt like a distant memory. Linda arrived 15 minutes early, a habit from her 38 years as a teacher. Her hands trembled just a little as she straightened her scarf and chose a small table by the window, watching the snow continue its gentle descent. At exactly noon, the bell above the door jingled, and a man walked in. It was him, David Miller. He looked exactly as Susan had described, kind eyes, a calm demeanor, and hair just starting to gray at the temples. When he smiled at her, the lines around his eyes deepened, not from age, but from a life filled with both laughter and loss. They shook hands, a bit awkwardly, like two actors in a play they hadn't rehearsed. "So, you're a teacher?" he asked, his voice pleasant. "Retired," she corrected gently. 38 years with second graders. The conversation was polite, but it felt distant. He checked his watch twice. She stirred her tea without taking a sip. Both were quietly, patiently, waiting for this obligation to end so they could escape back into their separate lives. And then, in a single moment, everything changed. The cafe door opened again with a cheerful jingle, letting in a gust of cold air and a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 6. Her curly blonde hair dusted with melting snowflakes. She wore a bright pink coat and tiny white boots, a flustered teenage babysitter trailing just behind her. The girl's wide blue eyes scanned the cafe with a look of urgent purpose, starting from face to face until they landed on David. Her whole face lit up. But then, she ran right past him and stopped directly in front of Linda. "You're her," she whispered, her eyes wide with awe. "You're the lady from Daddy's story." The low hum of the cafe seemed to vanish. Ow. The world narrowed to their small table. David froze, his coffee cup hovering halfway to his lips. "Emily," he began, his voice soft and cautious. "Sweetheart, But Emily was already clambering onto the empty chair beside Linda, gazing at her with the unfiltered wonder that only children possess. "You have kind eyes," Emily said, as if stating a simple fact. "Just like Daddy said, and you're re-wearing Grail, like the lady who helped the little boy at the Christmas market when he got lost." Linda blinked, a wave of confusion washing over her. Her heart, which had been so quiet just moments before, began to pound against her ribs. She glanced at David. His face had gone pale. "What story is this, Emily?" Linda asked, her voice barely a whisper, suddenly unsteady. The little girl beamed, delighted to be the center of this unfolding mystery. "Daddy tells it every night. He says when he was 7, he got lost at the Christmas market near the old pavilion. He was crying by the fountain, and a lady in a gray coat found him. She stayed with him for hours, and she even bought him hot chocolate with extra marshmallows, and told him stories so he would be scared." Linda's breath caught in her throat. The sounds of the cafe faded completely, replaced by the ghost of distant laughter and Christmas carols from another lifetime. She wasn't 58 anymore. She was 17, a girl with long brown hair, out shopping for her mother's gift. She remembered the little boy, his tear-streaked cheeks, his oversized blue coat, and the tiny toy soldier he clutched in his hand. Her lips trembled. "Not a toy soldier," she said quietly. Her eyes locked on David's. "You called him Captain James." Tears welled in David's eyes, spilling over. "You stayed with me," he said, his voice cracking with an emotion that had been buried for 41 years. "You missed your bus for me. You told me that stars were just holes in the floor of heaven where the light shines through to remind us we not alone. In that instant, time folded in on itself. The decades melted away. The frightened little boy and the kind young woman from that snowy December night were sitting face to face once more. Both older, both marked by life, both remembering. Emily, oblivious to the monumental weight of the moment, clapped her hands together in delight. I knew it. Daddy says that lady changed his life, that she taught him what angels really do. Linda looked at the little girl, her heart aching with a beautiful, forgotten feeling. And what's that? She asked softly. They help strangers, Emily said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. That's how angels work on earth. David reached across the table, his hand trembling slightly, and took Linda's. 41 years of silence and searching dissolved in that one touch. I never forgot you, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. My parents and I went back to that market every Christmas for years, hoping we'd see you again. But we never even knew your name. You were just the angel in the gray coat. They talked for hours after that, not as strangers on a blind date, but as two souls finding their way back to each other. They spoke of life, of love, of profound loss. Linda learned that David's beloved wife, Rebecca, had passed away 2 years earlier. He'd been raising Emily alone, teaching her every day to be kind, just like the woman who had once comforted him on a cold Christmas night. David learned that Linda had never married. She'd dedicated her life to teaching children, to comforting the frightened and guiding the lost perhaps, without ever realizing it. She was continuing the work she had started that day so long ago. By the time they finally left the cafe, the snow had grown thick, blanketing the city in a glowing, white silence. Emily, a perfect bridge between their past and future, held both of their hands, swinging happily between them. Will you come to our house for Christmas, Miss Linda? She asked, her voice sweet and hopeful. Daddy always leaves an empty chair at dinner. He says it's for the lady from the story in case she ever finds her way back. Linda looked at David, at the hope shining in his eyes a fragile, beautiful light. I'd like that very much, she said, smiling through her own tears. As they walked together into the soft white evening, Linda realized something she had undared to believe in for years. That love has its own perfect, mysterious timing, and that a single act of kindness once given never truly disappears. It ripples through time, waiting for the right moment to return. Sometimes the angels we help along the way are the very ones who end up leading us home. And sometimes, just when we think it's too late for miracles, life gently whispers back, it's only just beginning. Thank you so much for joining us for this story. If it touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more content that celebrates the kindness and connection in our world. We'll see you next time.